Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 86 of Podcast vs. Enemies, a Destiny massive breakdown show. Things are starting to slow down as we're in the last couple of weeks of Season 22, but we still got a few things to cover. Court, Impetus, how have you guys been this week?
Not bad there, Saint. Impetus, hope you both are well this week. This week for me, in terms of Destiny, been doing some GMs and raids. Got my Necrochasm Catalyst finally, and Craftable Word of Crota, even though I got my Adept variant, which actually has a rare role now, because they recently changed the magazine perks for Word of Crota. So I still have the Ricochet rounds, which was removed and replaced with your kind of classic selection. So yeah, that's my Adept variant, but I can now craft it, which I am going to try with Demo and Frenzy, and Repulsor Brace and Frenzy with my Gerfalcon's Hunter. Impetus, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I've done mostly Crucible this past week. Finally did my competitive placement matches to unlock Mercurial Overreach. I had not done that during Season of the Deep, and I thought, well, it's getting swapped out next season, might as well just go get a roll of it. It was not a good roll, has been immediately sharded, so, but that's been taken care of. Got that knocked out, just been doing a little bit more Crucible, though, getting ready for Iron Banner next week, and then help some patrons with a first a failed and then a successful Mars Battleground GM. Shout out to Wally and JK for that. That is still a volatile experience, I think is a very political way to say it. You never know what's going to get you killed. Sometimes it's Kelgrath, sometimes it's just lasers. You know, you never know. It's always an experience. How about you, Saint? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I got a couple Crota runs in, a couple GMs, grabbed a pre-Astyonics, which I hadn't before. Similar kind of a thing. I was like, I should get one, right, to hold on to. As well known, I am a hoarder of unique weapons, so I had to add one to the pile there. The origin trade is fun, it's fine. Other than that, it's been a lot of trials. Some trials with the friends, some solo trials, a lot of grinding and trying to get a cataphract roll, which I'll basically, this kind of came up because as a lot of you know, we were talking about grenade launchers heavily last weekend, and they kind of their place in the sandbox and things like that, and how it's very difficult for them to compete with rockets in terms of total damage output. Somebody had messaged in afterwards and asked Rock about Cataphract with bait and switch, as it was a unique trait appearance for grenade launchers. Turns out that it's actually really close to being able to compete in terms of total damage, because the buff stays up for so long, and when you have Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch working with each other, it's unlike Explosive Light. You can keep it up for the entire reserves, and it would only need to be buffed by, I believe, 2 or 3 to meet rocket explosive light rocket launcher damage output. And if it receives I want to say it was 6 reserves or more, it would equate to explosive light and Wolfpack rounds rockets. So really getting pretty interesting there, and definitely something that was worth looking into, considering we've talked about how long it's been since a grenade launcher was really meta. So Cataphract, the new meta, confirmed right here by Rock TC himself. You heard it first. Don't let what he actually tells you tell you any otherwise.
Let's go, boys. New meta. Yeah.
I mean, anything else this week?
No, not a whole lot. Just kind of getting ready for that new season that just got announced, but we'll cover that in a second here. Before all of that, of course, got to give some shout outs, some thank yous to our community, specifically our sponsors. These people go above and beyond in their support for the show, and we greatly appreciate that. So thank you to A Modern Viking, Askian Monk, Bryce Aroni, Deacon, IMK Rose, Moonlight, and This Moment. Your support is greatly appreciated. Additionally, you can send us all kinds of feedback directly to any of our socials or via the Destiny Massive Breakdowns Discord server. all kinds of feedback help with the trajectory of the podcast and how I present and break down builds, activities, and so much more in the PvE sandbox for all kinds of Destiny players. We also want to extend a special thanks and appreciation to everyone that supports PvE, whether that is downloading and listening to the show, discussing it on social media or the Discord server, and of course supporting us via Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, if you'd like to support the show, please visit DestinyMassiveBreakdowns.com and click on the link to Patreon. You'll get access to members-only channels on Discord, behind-the-scenes like episode previews, input on the future of the show, and access to the legendary annual merch drop. All right, Court, what are we talking about in today's episode?
I think it's going to be a pretty short episode, and I think we really mean it this time. Obviously, we had our kind of big episode last week, and I think we're kind of anticipating some sort of Wednesday article or some sort of season 23 kind of ability sandbox change or something like that, but we didn't receive that last week. Probably going to get that shortly though. So we've got some highlights from the TWID from the 9th of November. We have the new season announcement, which we'll talk about very briefly, and we have just a kind of quick update for the podcast itself. We'll talk about at the end of the episode, just give our kind of candid thoughts, just for, lots have been happening within the world of Destiny and Bungie specifically, so we're just kind of briefly talk about that. Just as a reminder, we did have Rock On last week, a very great episode, so in case you missed that, lots of great and classic Destiny massive breakdowns for damage, but definitely for DPS. Make sure to check out the damage generator, and of course my damage stacking over on the Destiny spreadsheets link tree. And of course we had a blast with Rock. Hope you all enjoyed the episode as well. And if you want to hear from any other community guests, please let us know. We'll talk about our kind of mid to long term plans later on in terms of the podcast, but we're certainly open to getting some community guests on to the show. All right, Saint, I'll hand it back to you to talk about a sword which we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the TWID this week about the Crucible and playlist updates, and we don't really care a lot about the new 6v6 non-competitive rotator modes. Just it's interesting, and really what we're here to talk about, and that was like a huge portion of it, but we did get some interesting info for the PvE side in terms of weapons that got revealed, including our ritual weapon. This is the Chivalric Fire, the Void Caster Sword ritual weapon coming up here, which is feel like the first time we've seen a caster sword in a little bit. I don't know when like Soulless Scar and some of those other ones came out, but it seems like it's been a while. We get some interesting traits on this guy right here. In column 3, you have your choice between Repulsor Brace and a new trait called Attrition Orbs, which states that dealing sustained damage generates orbs of power. And then in column 4, to complement those, you've got either Destabilizing Rounds or Relentless Strikes. So, kind of how they typically do with these weapons, you've got 2 clear choices of perk synergy, which is nice. Repulsor Destabilizing is a lot of fun, and then new kid on the block, Attrition Orbs, with the naturally pairing Relentless Strike, stacking your damage up as you go. Gentlemen, what's the vibe on the new trait here, Attrition Orbs on the sword?
I think it depends on if there's a timer or not. That's kind of my first thing. I think about a lot of the fragments that help generate orbs on various subclasses. Those typically have a pretty lengthy timer. Obviously, this is a weapon perk, not an ability fragment, so I don't know if that will have different treatment or not, but yeah, I wonder the frequency with which how it will work mechanically kind of behind the scenes, if there's a counter that needs to be hit, or if it's going to just be a timer that needs to be matched in order for the next orb of power. But probably going to be really good on machine guns, auto rifles, trace rifles. Dealing sustained damage is kind of what those things do. I guess SMGs as well, of course, but definitely trace rifles and machine guns. I think that'll be a really interesting option. And as always, it will depend on what column it shows up on for the weapons. If it's column 4, I'm probably not going to care about it a bunch. But column 3, maybe. What about you, Court?
Well, my builds grow stronger with the ability to spawn more orbs, as some of the patrons know. If you've ever been a grandmaster or any type of content, you know that I do like spawning orbs. So this will it'll be added, and we'll probably see another kind of 2 or 3 fold in the amount of orbs being created here. But yeah, it's interesting, very interesting. I suppose we've never really had a kind of perk that spawns an orb. You know, it kind of harks back to the days when we had, masterwork weapons would create orbs, and that was built into the perk, built into the weapon, and obviously that was shifted off and put into kind of mods. But yeah, very interesting. I was just looking at the stats for, the meta stats for caster frames. The last time was Solar Scar, which was season 13.
Years ago.
10 seasons ago.
So I was right. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, and before that it was Temptation's Hook, and that was it.
Oh, man.
It's a caster sword. It's nothing too fancy. It's definitely your add clear type of thing, and if you want to kind of be funny with it, you can use the caster heavy attack, and obviously that's no longer tied to, you can cast it with any sword energy between 1 to 100%, and you'll do full damage. So I was trying to look for my a little list of how much ammo gets consumed on each heavy attack for the swords. I can't remember where I put it. I don't have it to hand, but I think
Isn't it kind of high?
It is quite high, because I can remember it used to be reasonably, around about 3 or 4, but I think it's like 6 or 7 now. It is quite a substantial chunk of ammo. Yeah. So. Interesting. Obviously, this being a ritual weapon, I don't think it's going to be too hot. It's definitely here's what you can get just now, and then who knows, maybe the dungeon will have a caster frame as well. I think they tend to do that. Here's a little teaser, and then here's the real deal. But with it being a caster frame, still probably gonna kind of ignore it. But it's a fun sword if you like that sort of stuff. I know swords are seeing a little bit of attention now, obviously with Crota being the most recent raid, and also swords having their big kind of rework recently as well.
If it got tuned a little bit and that got pushed back down to 3 or 4 energy for caster bolt, would you be a little more interested?
I think so. That heavy. It's just such a malice. Like, it's like if they really want, it's kind of follows the same argument of like heavy grenade launchers. If they want us to use it for ad clear, then they kind of need to make it more sustainable than what it is currently. So yeah, I would take 4 rather than I think it's 7 at the moment.
Yeah. Plus, like you said, we can go get our new bait and switch sword from the dungeon. That's totally going to happen, and it's going to be over.
Okay, so
that is.
Are you still under NDA? I don't.
Yeah, that is not. Do not know if that is real or not. Although we do got to talk about that later when we talk about the new season, because I literally, it's been freaking killing me, dude.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you knew about that. Oh Lord,
dude, I knew that the 15th wish was real like 15 months ago, almost. And I wanted to scream and freak out, but I also didn't want to never get a job in another game studio, so I couldn't say anything. And that hurts your mind a little bit, to be frank.
I bet it does. You know what else hurts my mind? Knowing that there's an Adept Strand Trace Rifle coming to Trials of Osiris next season. Isn't that awesome? I cannot wait to be all up in that playlist, losing my mind for the first ever kinetic slot legendary trace rifle. But yes, that is one of our new, that is the new Trials weapon coming next season. Leaving, of course, we'll get to that first here. That's the Immortal submachine gun and the Astral Horizon shotgun. Both of those have left the Adept, the Lighthouse chest, I should say, by the time that this episode comes out. Next season, our new weapon is the Incisor Strand Adaptive Trace Rifle. Bound to be probably really, really good, as they love to do. Yes, maybe we will get a strand trace rifle somewhere else. Maybe we'll get a stasis trace rifle somewhere else. Still don't have a legendary one of those. So, yes, that is the big one. And then another returning weapon is going to be the Eye of Soul. That is a kinetic adaptive sniper rifle. They did tell us that this will have the Cassoid Foundry origin trait, or it is now part of the Cassoid Foundry. So it will have one new origin trait and then presumably yet again another refreshed perk pool. It did, of course, already have origin traits back when it was refreshed with the launch of Witch Queen. I think it was only around for the season of the Witch Queen launch, and then it left along with the summoner. But yeah, it's very much a PvP weapon, both in the original iteration and in D2, and then when it got refreshed to have the origin trait. I'm looking at it right now in Foundry. I'd be very surprised if they threw in some PvE perks. The old version has Vorpal Weapon and then Focused Fury, and that's about it. And then you've got Perpetual, I guess, Ensemble in Column 3. Again, not really a meta option there, but we're covered for PvE snipers, or at least we're going to be covered for PvE snipers next season as well. Thoughts on a Strand Trace Rifle, Legendary Strand Trace Rifle, and Eye of Soul return in there, boys?
Huge. Honestly, a top slot Legendary Trace Rifle, like Impetus said, can't ignore this one. Gonna be having a similar time grinding out those trials and engrams for focusing next season. And I'm really curious to see what they put on this thing, because we have had a lot of kind of changes. There's quite a range of not only trace rifle, but also strand specific perks. I mean, I'm definitely, something like Hatchling seems really obvious, but thinking about, what else they could put in this thing, guessing it's going to have, I feel like most trials weapons are like 6x6 or something close to that. So
yeah,
and that's a lot of different traits to throw in a really high-end trace rifle. Court, what would you put on this thing if you could pick like a 3-4 trait combo? What would you put on your legendary top slot trace rifle?
I don't know, because to be honest, I was really kind of anticipating a stasis one before we got a strand one. But I suppose with Agarceptor, Agarceptor takes up a lot of that play space. Yes, it's an exotic. It's got its own thing. But in terms of a strand legendary trace rifle, I don't know, something like as much fun having something like Threadling as a perk as it may be, but something that just keeps sustaining kind of damage output. I'm thinking like kill tally. Do we have? I can't remember. Did we get a kill tally trace rifle? Or
yeah, it's using the haunted.
Nezerax might have gotten it.
What was that called? Hollow
Denial. I apologize.
Hollow Path. Hollow Denial. Retrace Path. Hollow Denial. I'm getting my dude. I'm all.
So something
rifle mixed up.
That's what I see trace rifles to be that aren't exotic, is something that's got a lot more power than auto rifles. They are just kind of very high speed auto rifles at the end of the day, and they do more damage, of course. But something just to really sustain that. I think trace rifles are still in a good spot as well. We all were using it for double special a couple of seasons ago, but now. I think they still have their utility. I know I'm still bringing in my some of my kind of I'm looking at Path of Least Resistance, still bringing that. Hollow Denial, yeah, we don't have Volatile Flow at the moment, but it's still a very solid trace rifle to bring in. And yeah, Cassia's Dejection, I do like bringing that out just to kind of play around with it, glowing whenever you're firing that for a long period of time. But yeah, I don't know, for a strand one, that's very interesting. I mean, we're due, I think we get one elemental perk every season. I'm not sure what it will be, which element will have it. Maybe stasis, I'm guessing, if they're going to, we'll talk about stasis shortly anyway in terms of kind of upcoming season stuff. But yeah, not too sure. Interesting question. I'm going to kind of mull over that. Give my answer next week.
I mean, I would definitely say I'm hoping for an ammo related perk because these days, if you still want to run double special, you probably need to run special finisher, and you probably need some kind of ammo related perk on each weapon to make sure that you're going to keep that pretty easily. Which it's totally is still a viable thing to do, but definitely takes just like a little more investment. I would hope for like field prep to be in there, maybe like reconstruction or envious assassin in there as well as a way to like just really pump up that mag size. I'm kind of holding the standard to like a Cassius, right, which has all these. I mean, yes, it's a raid weapon, but Trials is just as an in-game of a source as like the Root of Nightmares, right?
And that is a good point. With it being attached to the Trials, I am kind of expecting some kind of spiciness. Maybe not to the same standards as a raid. I think they do get quite spicy with raid stuff. But we do see, the having GL getting that bait and switch was a bit of a like, whoa, okay. they're willing to really kind of expand on the loot pool for Trials as well. So we'll see. Do you guys see? Do you think we'll get a kind of a stasis or a strand legendary trace rifle next season that's not in Trials, or do you think it's just going to be Trials?
I'd be shocked if we didn't get a stasis one. I mean, we've been waiting for the stasis buffs so long this year. And I think the common feedback has been that Strand has been pretty well represented. I mean, it's certainly been getting a lot of love, both in Root of Nightmares, but then also in the following seasons, right? And also, I mean, we're about to talk about it. Iron Banner's getting a Strand weapon. It seems like Strand's getting covered. So yeah, if they get a trace rifle before stasis, I'm going to be pretty miffed. And I think that would leave a lot of people confused. But if they come out at the same time, then I think that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I probably will imagine the dungeon would have a stasis one. We did get that stasis wave frame coming out of Ghosts of the Deep. So they are still giving us new stasis options. They haven't completely forgotten about it, but this would be pretty surprising if it was just one Strand, a legendary trace rifle, and they put it in Trials for what we now know will be a pretty long season.
Yeah. Just to interject, so I was talking about the ranged caster sword. I found that it's actually in one of our scripts for future episodes. Yeah. So ranged heavy attack for caster is 5 ammo. I thought it was 7, but it's 5. And the vortex, just to put it into kind of context, it's 6 ammo for a heavy spin attack. So I think 5's still quite a lot. To be honest, I think 4 would be the max. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But yes, so for Iron Banner, we will have Reese Walker is returning as our kinetic lightweight shotgun. I don't think we really had much to say about it last time it was about. And yeah, as you mentioned, we've got a Strand high impact auto rifle. We're getting quite a lot of high impact auto rifles. I'm not sure what the vibe about that is, but Lethal Abundance is our Iron Banner Strand high impact AR. Thoughts, if any?
Okay.
Reese Walker?
That's really?
A
no.
Yeah.
Really, Reese Walker. It's available. It's in the legacy focusing for Lord Saladin right now. It's got an origin trait. You're just moving it from one section of Lord Saladin to the other section right now. Also, really good for PvP. Very much a good Iron Banner weapon. Does not need a perk refresh in the way that many other Iron Banner weapons do or did. So yeah, not sure what the thinking was here, especially when we have so many really good Iron Banner weapons that still haven't been updated to get an origin trait, and some of our more recent weapons like the Steady Hand, Multi-Mock, Time War Inspire could come back and be pretty great. Rapid Fire Pulse Rifles have been really, really dominant, so that's what I want. I don't want a Reese Walker. I have Reese Walker currently available. If I really want to go get it, I'll just start dumping iron engrams into it. But yeah, okay, fine. Reese Walker's back. It's new.
It's back for real this time.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I enjoy using it in the Crucible when I'm playing not as much these days. Lightweight shotguns are not quite what they used to be, IMO, and I think that's like general consensus. But I mean, they put like slick draw opening shot on this thing. I'll be there. I'll go pick one up. And my other thought was, you have so many strong competitors in this slot these days that you're really gonna have to bring the juice, Reese Walker, respect, to be, I feel like, worth chasing, even from like the Crucible side, which I don't think that there's any shotguns right now that can roll slick draw. That's just like snipers and sidearms and stuff. But
well, it has Iron Reach. Remember that. It does get that crazy good range. True. So that was its claim to fame. Everyone was trying to chase the quick draw Iron Reach. That's, I mean, I'd be shocked if those perks got taken away in the perk refresh, but who knows?
I think that they might change quick draw for slick draw, which has kind of been the trend recently on like, I don't know, like Mercurial, right? Does not have quick draw, but it does have slick draw. And I think that they like that better because it's, there's some kind of a trade-off. Even though you could, like, it's active all the time, right? Versus quick draw is like just for that transition period. But
yep,
I don't know. But to your point, they're gonna keep the good stuff because they always try to keep its primo stuff around. And this, high impact auto rifle, I don't know. They're just not the best PvE weapon. I know there's some people out there that are really attached to their like age old bond. I got a putty pope that's like constantly running that thing, or they like their new Crota's Inn auto rifle. You can put Swashbuckler on, which works great with the Curse Thrall. It's fun. I don't think that they're very popular in PvP either, which seems weird. But hey, kind of to Impetus' point.
Just you wait till next season. You get domed from however many meters away by lethal abundance, Saint.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say before we go over to PvE, just as a reminder, we are getting a Strand high impact pulse rifle in comp next season.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't have the name of that, I don't think, but that's the other new comp weapon. And then you are also getting the ability to focus for Rose and Mercurial Overreach, depending upon your rank in comp. Come next season, you'll get some focuses. Those will cost Crucible engrams, but you can at least acquire those weapons again next season. So those are some better changes to loot pool. Again, very much PvP weapons. No one's really taken Rose into Grandmaster Nightfall unless that's the only kinetic hand cannon you got, in which case, really hope you got an explosive payload roll.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Stat-wise, it's a monster. And I should say that. I know that I was like, we don't really care about all these weird, all these playlist updates, and I still don't have a great feel for if that's good or not and how that's going to land. But the loot focusing stuff is really nice. Considering you can get up to like, I want to say if you're like moderately high rank, you're getting like 4 to 5. If you're platinum, you're getting 6. And if you are in ascendant, you're getting like 7 a week, which is crazy. Even though it requires 3 Crucible engrams at a time, which like you do get a lot of Crucible just Valor playing comp, but man, that is like quite expensive for a weapon when you're focusing these guys. Still,
it's available.
It's available. It's nice. It's something, for sure. Okay, last weapon set that we're going to cover here as far as changes coming up next season. We're keeping it going in the kind of in-game territory, but with PvE this time, we're talking Nightfalls. Leaving, we have the Buzzard sidearm and the fan favorite, the Swarm, which I know they're just trolling on that one, and I do appreciate the joke there a little bit from whoever it was that wrote this thing. New additions: the Undercurrent Arc Special Ammo Wave Frame Grenade Launcher, and returning Uzume RR4 Arc Adaptive Frame Sniper Rifle. This has definitely sparked up a lot of discussion this week. This one weapon line right here got an entire discussion on sunsetting going in my clan chat. So this is kind of like a hot topic. And I think that a lot of that has sparked out of the idea of what is it going to take for somebody to want to farm this thing over Forbearance, this absolutely meta dominating weapon that it is.
The Undercurrent, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the What's the vibe on the arc wave frame? What would it take to push? Some kind of similar question of the Strain Trace Rifle. Like, what are you looking for on this grenade launcher here? What would it take to get you to think about equipping this thing over your forbearance?
Go Court. Come on. I know it. You're going to say it. Hit me with it. Eddy Current. Let's go.
Yes, it's going to be Eddy Current and Volt Shot. Right. Okay. So yeah, the big kind of the big forbearance is here, but I think we do need to kind of step back a little bit. Not everyone can raid. Not everyone can do a raid. Not everyone can get a forbearance. We all have forbearances. We've had them for a long time now, but at the end of the day, we're probably in a minority compared to folks who have it. I've seen stats being thrown about. I don't know if they're actually true. We can never really be sure about stats that are coming from a third party app, if it's 100% truthful and accurate. But I don't know, because forbearance will still exist. It's the origin trait, the combination of the origin trait, unrelenting, and then chain reaction, which is the big kind of three. If you've got those three, you're doing just well, and killing room full of ads all the time, and with Soul Drinker giving you that restoring health and reload based on the amount of hits before reload, which is you're going to maximize it out with forbearance anyway, and it's on hits. It's not on kills. It's nothing. It's not a kill trigger. It's just as long as you hit a line of ads, you're going to get your max health of it says between 20 and 80 HP. A couple episodes ago, of course, we talked about HP and how that reflects to our kind of Guardians' survivability. Obviously, Undercurrent is not going to be that. So, is it a fair comparison to Forbearance? I don't think it is. Like, people throwing around stuff like, oh, it has to have Unrelenting and Chain Reaction in order for it to perform well. Of course it does, because it's up against Forbearance. But Forbearance is such an outlier. Curious if we'll ever see Forbearance being knocked down a substantial amount, to be honest. We saw it with recently with the SMG. The name escapes me. The exotic.
Oh. What element?
Top. Everyone was going to be shouting Osteo Striga.
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry.
So that was knocked down. Again, came out the same season, same annual expansion as Forbearance, so maybe we'll see Forbearance being brought down, but it's one of those kind of last outliers of this is still creating a little bit of an issue, because it's causing these kind of arguments, and to what you said there, Saint, about this is kind of creating the more kind of active discussion about sunsetting. So it's, yeah. I don't know what perks they could put on this to make it really viable, because in a world where Forbearance exists, I'm not going to use it. But for those that don't have Forbearance, and if it has something like Chain Reaction, maybe it doesn't have Unrelenting, it doesn't have a heal perk, then great. Folks have got a little kind of Forbearance light. Yeah, that's my thoughts when it comes to the obvious comparison between Forbearance and this one.
Yeah, to your point of the access to this loot, at first I got the response from somebody that basically like, oh, well, how many people that are doing a GM aren't also doing a raid? But like, immediate response is, you don't have to do a GM to get the Nightfall weapon. It's just like the meta efficient way to do it, because you're guaranteed to get drops, and your rate at which you get more engrams to focus, you can focus the depths, goes up, right? You don't have to. You could just run like the low tier, like match made Nightfall and just grind it out if you don't even want to like mic up or anything like that. And eventually, like, you'll get a drop. You'll get some engrams that you can focus on like regular versions of this. So the bar really is like much lower. You can just go no comms farm some low tier Nightfalls and like still you eventually get a drop, right?
And just real quick before I pass it back to Impetus, next season, as far as we're aware, I don't think any schedules changed. I think we're still getting LFG next season. I think there's maybe been a few words. I know, Impetus, you made the comment in one of the servers where it was a bit confusing. If we saw in one of the articles it was detailing how LFG was. It was a bit of a mixed messaging, to be honest. Are we still getting LFG next season, or is that getting pushed back somewhere? As far as I'm aware, we're still getting Fireteam Finder. So it'll be interesting to see how the stats kind of look for raiding and for Grandmasters, or just regular Nightfalls, but specifically when it comes to raiding. Not a lot of folks are really playing Vow of the Disciple at the moment, even though it is one of the more kind of recent kind of top tier raids, but everyone who's got a forbearance will have it, or sorry, for those that want to get a forbearance will have a forbearance by this point. But next season, if we're still getting Fireteam Finder, it will be interesting just to see the stats of folks chasing forbearance over Undercurrent.
If I'm the weapons team right now, it's not the damage perk it's not column 4 that I'm trying to entice a player with. It'd be column 3. We're not getting chain reaction, but we're absolutely going to get Envious Assassin. Right. That dropped already on World Loot. Harsh Language, the Void waveframe from Witch Queen launch, that gets Envious Assassin, and then because it's Void, a lot of people are chasing destabilizing rounds for chain reaction, but purple. I absolutely think that will be expected. I think if they really want to get crazy and want to make people kind of leave the forbearance, slide shot, right? Something really wild. You only get 2 grenade options on waveframes, right? It's not the same deal as it was with, say, Ignition Code, which did, when it debuted, got slide shot, but then could also get blinding grenades, as they were called back then, plus spike grenades, plus proxy, like all those other options that made it a real menace in so many different areas of the game. Here, you're only limited down to high velocity and implosion on waveframes. So, yeah, it would be really interesting to see if they threw a really random, crazy, cool column 3 option. But again, I think it would have to take... Envious for sure will be nice. You can get up to 3 in the mag, so that is more than Ambitious Assassin can get on forbearance, but I don't think they're going to go over the top too much with damage perks. I'd be very surprised. I'd be happy to be surprised, but yeah, I don't think a Envious Assassin Volt Shot would get me over my ambitious chain reaction forbearance as much as I wanted to, in a way. But that's beside the point.
I think it was Mossy who said that he wanted to see Discord on this thing, which would definitely be unique. I know there's no other kind of, you mentioned slide shot, which reminded me of that whole situation of a weapon. And I was like, well, they could kind of do that with Discord, which is not, it's not quite subsistence, which would just refund the round, every time instantly. But having like a little bit of prep and then switching over and being able to like rapid fire off a clear room would certainly be unique without chain reaction still. This also brought up, I think it was the first season of this year that we had the Prodigal Return come out, which has Volt Shot on it, which was great until they completely nerfed the way that the modifiers, combat modifiers work on Volt Shot. And I still wish that they would walk that back at least like halfway, maybe, for some of these special weapons, because that would differentiate it, right? And I don't know, be pretty desirable. And I don't know what else they could do here. Maybe I think somebody else mentioned the wildcard origin trait. Just extra little, residual explosions never hurt anybody.
That is true. That is for sure true.
Yeah. A Cassoid waveframe grenade launcher. Interesting.
Yep. Everything's possible, At this rate, they can just start expanding these weapon foundries,
It's worth pointing out, though, the Adept variant of this will not give you much benefit in PvE. Adept big ones on a waveframe, you want that mod on special weapons, but waveframes are not what you're using to really deal a lot of damage to majors and bosses and champions. It'd be nice, I guess, for doing extra damage if you were to stun a champion, but those weapon types are just not built to be a real menace in the way that, say, fusion rifle would be. An adept fusion rifle like Loaded Question, where adept big ones can be really, really great for slowly building up damage, especially if you have something like controlled burst working in conjunction with that. So yeah, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this gets an adept variant, I'm really going to go chase that because then I can do this, this, and this. You'll get the adept mods, and that might be helpful for a stat or two, but the PvE specific adept mod, not going to be rocking your world a whole lot on a waveframe grenade launcher, unfortunately. Special or heavy, I should say, because we have one heavy waveframe grenade launcher.
It's true.
All right, Court, you want to tell us about the final season?
Did we talk about Uzumi?
Oh,
do we
yeah,
need to talk about
it's also coming.
Is an adaptive sniper rifle.
Okay,
yep,
next.
that is in the game.
Yeah,
maybe solar, maybe arc. We don't know.
Yeah. It was.
Hey, they could go full cataphract and just put bait and switch on it, and then be like, "Who wants a sniper now?"
You just want bait and switch on everything.
Well, now that's
obviously Forbearance did have bait and switch, but that was obviously the weapon kind of perk for that collection back then. But yeah, bait and switch on a sniper rifle would be interesting.
I'd be grinding. I'm just.
I mean, snipers are getting their buff next season as well,
inch by inch,
yeah,
meter by
bait
meter,
making their way downtown, dude.
Not moving fast though. Good lord.
No.
Yes. Next season of The Wish. It is should be our last season of this game. We'll be moving over to episodes type content in the future. But yeah, Season of the Wish, probably going to be the longest season we've ever had on Destiny, unless they pull together a tiny season, 23.5, not to the same extent as the 30th anniversary, but a tiny kind of update, like mid-season update. But anyway, this is the last full season, and yeah, well, I kind of I know, Saint, you've known for a little bit of a small amount of time, and obviously you're going to have to keep a little bit quiet for the next year or something like that, whenever Final Shape does rock around. But yes, if you haven't played it, if you haven't kind of experienced it, it is a nice little cutscene. Our Guardian's actually doing something for once that's not involved with our active play, and yeah, big reveal of a Ahamkara egg. It is the one of two known. I know the other one is care of Mara. It's the taken version. This is just a regular Ahamkara egg. We thought that, after the great hunt with the Ahamkaras, we thought we were pretty much in the clear. But this is the second of two eggs that we're aware of. One that's not corrupted with taken. So yeah, what's our vibes? Have you guys actually completed the kind of challenge thing, the little kind of mini quest at the end of the Imbaru engine?
Yeah, I had to get that shader, man. Had to.
It's a really cool shader. Like, hats off to the art team who created that shader. That's a really fantastic one for a small kind of like Easter egg. No pun intended, but a small like kind of puzzle to get a nice shader like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a wonderful surprise. Definitely worth the effort of if you were trying to brute force that final puzzle. Hats off. I did not. we brute forced the first two, and then me and my partner said, "Yeah, okay, this is gonna take a while. Let's look this one up." So yeah, but a very, very cool moment here. Did not know they were bright orange. I was like, oh. That is noticeable. So, and I've been told apparently there's a sound effect for a heartbeat if you go stand close to it. So, I got to go check that out after we're done recording. I want to go hear that. But yeah, fun surprise. And then they came out with a tweet. The Bungie account did immediately announcing the season after it was first discovered, which is pretty cool. So,
yeah, I wish they had kind of sandbagged on that a little bit like maybe until like, I don't know, a day later or something like that. I feel like they were really quick to immediately post a like key art image after it had been solved, which, you know, to me, you're kind of like undercutting your own hype when you do something like that, because people love weird when mysterious things happen in the game that people, you know, weren't anticipating. The season ending is like maybe not like that crazy, but when you so quickly come out and like make a public announcement about it, you immediately like cut out a little bit of the air of like the hype and the mystery. IMO. Well, I mean, do you guys, any thoughts on, well, I mean, like, I thought it was a good mission and reveal and everything, and I'm very happy to see it hit the game and people freaking out. But yeah, any thoughts on too soon, or does it really matter?
I think, yeah, to your point about the comms team pushing out, oh, look, it's the next season. It was a bit too early. I think in the past they've kept it maybe a day, maybe even 2 days before they're like, "Yep, this is it. This is the next season." And I suppose this is maybe at least for the last couple of seasons, maybe the last couple of years, we've got a reveal of a season fairly early, because it's normally the week or perhaps even 2 weeks leading up to the new season. So this is the most we've known for a while. Obviously, we've known about prior seasons before as well. Like, we knew season 21 and 2, their names, with Joe Blackburn's kind of it was the state of the game.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and the promotional art that they did post, it does slap. A lot of folks have been kind to, upscale the Guardians and what weapons they've been using, and is that a Wish Ender ornament, or is it just a legendary bow that looks like Wish Ender, with it taking on that kind of Dreaming City set. I think we'll be revisiting the Dreaming City. It's another fantastic environment in the game, so I am pretty hyped for next season. For all intents and purposes, with the kind of a little bit of down period that we've been kind of riding through the last couple of weeks for obvious reasons. But next season, looking forward to it. That promo art was just really good, really cool to see. Sadly, it was a little bit presumptuous of Bungie to kind of launch that pretty much after a couple of folks had unlocked the puzzle and completed it. But yeah, I'm still excited. Wish 15. Finally, we finally know. Saint, you can talk about it now.
Man, yeah, NDA it's tough, and I think that it's, especially with something like this, like I remember coming home from work this night and I'm like freaking out, and my wife is like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like trying to explain that there's a conspiracy theory from like 5 years ago in the game that I actually found out was true like a year ago, and now all my friends know, and we can finally talk about it. And there's this dragon egg, and I was like really full tinfoil hat like on one that afternoon when this was all coming out. But
I've just visualized, the gif of the guy connecting all the dots on the that meme. That's you talking to your wife.
exactly breaking down the on-car conspiracies. And it's not the one from Mars throne room, because see, that one was taken, and this one it's totally uncorrupted, and now it's a huge opportunity, and it's a big deal.
So basically, there are like these wish dragons, and they lay a bunch of eggs, and
big time. I definitely agree on the fact that this key art absolutely smacks, though. And when I was like really zooming in on it, trying to figure out what the weapons that these guardians are holding, and okay, the warlock has got a bow, very obvious. Yep. But then when I'm looking at the hunter, it could be a scout rifle, or it could be a aggressive linear that actually looks a lot like Storm Chaser if you go back and look at its model. And then I think what the Titan is holding, I thought was maybe like an auto rifle at first because it has that kind of Surusy look to it. But now I'm thinking because of the width of that barrel that it might be a shotgun with just like a really unique looking model.
It is a shotgun and it is a linear fusion rifle. A linear fusion rifle has the model from Threaded Needle from Season of the Chosen. Shotgun is and I can't remember the name of it, but it's the Europa shotgun model. If you look at the back of it, it lines up pretty perfectly with the precision frame European shotgun model.
Man, I've totally forgot about the Europa weapon set, honestly. Interesting, though. Really love the look of the gear in this. And also, we appear to definitively be fighting with the dragon. It's very, is the vibe.
Yeah, or it's a surprise attack, right? You guys hear something behind us?
Yeah, you could see the little, if you look within it looks like some kind of Woken portal thing that the Ankar is coming out of. It's pretty clear that is like the Traveler behind you. You can see that little like purple looking triangle shape that looks just like the portal in the Traveler.
I see that. Yeah, I'm looking at
it. There's implications. The implications, obviously, of the Traveler portal.
Big week in Destiny that we get to analyze one image for about 15 minutes here on the podcast.
It's raised the spirits a little bit. I think going from, I know a lot of folks weren't that keen on the season 21 Deep's kind of aesthetics. Deep diving wasn't really the big vibe, but at least for this season, for Witch, the whole Hive, Eris Morn, that kind of vibe, the thematics have been really spectacular. We love seeing that architecture, and it looks like it's going to be the same with perhaps a revisit to the Dreaming City. It's another just fantastic place to go to, just one of the best locations in Destiny. So yeah, I think it's definitely, our kind of vibe and our mood was pretty flatlining the last couple of weeks, but to see this was certainly can't wait to play it. And, of course, lots of many folks lost their position over at Bungie, but, I'm sure they've poured their heart and their soul into this season that they worked on.
Yeah, definitely been a kind of mixed bag reception this week. The most wild thing I saw was basically the claim that Bungie just put the mission in the game and made this announcement because they needed some good PR. And I was like, man, I admire, the fact that you think that they can add a mission in and create a seasonal theme that's going to start next week in the span of about 2 weeks. That you really, that's like more of a compliment to them than you think, but
wow.
Yeah, there's just like also to Court's point, the mixed vibe of like, Bungie just laid off like all these like talented people last, 2 weeks ago or whatever, after like making a bunch of bad decisions, it turns out, behind the scenes. And it's just like brutal to watch these people go through that. But then the flip, like Court mentioned, is like, well, does that mean that you shouldn't engage with like the effort that all the other 600 something people that are still working on the game are like putting into it each season? I don't know. I don't think so.
All right. So to really loop into that point, actually, you've kind of been talking about it. We didn't want to kind of share our thoughts last week because obviously we had Rock on. Didn't want to, it was his episode at the end of the day. But yeah, a short segment here before we wrap things up. Just kind of a future of our podcast. Just to kind of put it in very quick outlines. Bungie still haven't announced any delay to Final Shape. I think it's all but confirmed that we're going to see a delay with the Final Shape. We just haven't reached a kind of set date, which, I think a lot of folks were kind of wondering, when are we going to get that? I don't think we'll get that for another couple of weeks, probably maybe we've only got a couple of weeks left before the holiday season, and then it's January. I know, folks do absolutely warranted to take a few weeks off to spend some time with their friends and family for the holidays, but I'm kind of wondering if we'll probably get some news in January rather than anytime soon. But yeah, so the big outline here is we don't know when the final shape's going to come out, and how it reflects and kind of impacts our podcast. So I think in the short term, first few weeks of season 23, which is the end of November, a couple of weeks of December. Season 23 is obviously launching during the holiday season, so we'll have our usual season previews or breakdowns, new weapons, perks. Of course, stasis changes are coming next season. We'll possibly have a refresh raid loot pool, possibly Garden of Salvation. Again, that's not confirmed. I think we're just following the cadence that we've been getting for every season. There's not been a raid. We get a raid refresh loot pool. Of course, we'll be taking our usual annual Christmas and New Year break. We're still looking at our schedules shortly, just to kind of plan things out. I know these guys have got Thanksgiving coming up very shortly as well. And to be honest, most likely, at least the first couple of weeks of the new season, it will be business as usual. Any Nightfall breakdowns we haven't done yet. Dungeon breakdown, of course. We've got a new dungeon. Some more kind of other PvE university topics that we haven't touched on. And pretty much until we reach what would have been the final shapes launch date in February. So, yeah, I think that's our short term. Impetus, you want to kind of share midterm? I suppose we don't have much else to share here, but just to give a kind of outline.
Yeah, the midterm is we don't know. Likely we will probably be dropping down to fortnightly and or monthly releases on topics or stuff that we have been doing inside of Destiny at that time. Again, it'll probably be Nightfall, PvE University topics would be those ones that we'd probably put kind of to that point in our normal seasonal cadence. But that's kind of as a heads up here. We'll try and keep a regular schedule, but the length between episodes is going to increase once we get into the 2024 year. And then of course reacting to news, of course, is kind of the big thing there. News regarding the final shape, however Bungie chooses to release that, and then long term, Saint, what are we feeling about final shape and beyond?
It's honestly kind of depends on Bungie at this point. With the anticipation of the final shape being delayed significantly, it doesn't. The longer they go without saying anything, does not just bode super well, to be honest. Because Jason Schroeder's not often wrong about game delays. He's got a really good hit rate, and the longer it goes, if they don't say anything, makes it not feel very certain. They could just be kind of waiting on timing after people get really hyped up for the new season, and then, follow that up with the, downer kind of announcement that there is going to be a delay. We will definitely see what that looks like also for the episodes and things like that as content starts to come out, if that schedule is going to be maintained the same way. We definitely have the desire, to be doing these weapon reviews to talk about the PvE meta of the game. But we honestly just want to wait and see how that content is actually going to land, because we're just in a really ambiguous moment right now with this anticipation but lack of true confirmation from the studio of a delay, and then how that is going to impact the upcoming episodes and what those releases will look like at that point. So, we'll be talking about it, right? As things become more clear and concrete, obviously we'll be able to talk more about what our, kind of schedule is going to look like moving into the final shape and continuing with episodes. But until we get some more legit or just direct news from the studio, I think that's about it for now. You guys have anything else you want to add here?
Once again, if there are some people from the Destiny Massive Breakdowns community that you'd like to have on the show, our schedule is now massively wide open. So we're happy to take a look and get in touch with people if there's someone in particular you'd like, their knowledge and expertise in a particular area that relates to PvE. Absolutely let us know and tag us. Same goes to Bungie if you're listening. Hello, how are you? Hope you guys are doing well over there. What you doing in January? February, March, April, May. I think. And also PvE University too. Again, if there's other topics that we haven't touched on that you'd like us to touch on, give us a shout. We will always be happy to entertain some ideas.
All right. What's all we got for episode 86? Hopefully this coming week we'll get a little more insight on the new season, or maybe a Wednesday sandbox preview article. Until then, thanks for listening. We also want to thank our audio engineer, Autodidaktos, for keeping us sounding great every episode. My name is Saint Kabr, and you can find me on Twitter or in the Massive Breakdowns Discord server asking for Eddy current buffs. Impetus, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me by that name, Impetus, in Destiny and in Discord, asking for Eddy current buffs as well. Court, where can we find you?
You can not find me over on Twitter and various other social media websites and the Discord asking for Eddy current perks buffs, because I frankly don't care. You can find my infographics and spreadsheet along with other great applications and spreadsheets, including the damage generator from last week's episode, over on the Destiny spreadsheets link tree and the Massive Breakdowns website. All right, we'll catch you on another episode of PvE next week.